How you doing, Camus?
There is nothing. Only warm primordial blackness. Your conscious ferments in it. No larger than a single grain of malt. You don't have to do anything anymore.
There is nothing.
Ever.
Of all the games out there, Disco Elysium is by far the most modern one I've ever played all the way through and not hated. That's a free box quote for you. I got a lot of stupid things to say and but one mouth to get them all out of at once, so let's just jump right on into it. Firstly, Ancient Reptilian Brain is a character in hit video game Disco Elysium. He lives in your head and he tells you that it's okay to die if you want. Makes it sound kind of fun, actually. The voice actor here is avant-garde metal vocalist Mikey W. Goodman. And boy, is he going for it. He actually does a whole suite of voices for the game, appearing as the Limbic System, the Spinal Cord, one mercenary, two raving drunks, the pawn shop owner, and the deserter. Who's the deserter? Don't worry about it. Maybe you should finish Disco Elysium, though. Cross that one off your backlog at all. No reason. Based on my short time in Revachol, I think that all, or at least most video games, should feature Mikey W. Goodman as at least half of the characters. Now, what's the deal with this ancient reptile brain? What's it doing in my normal guy brain? Good questions. In MacLean's triune brain model, the basal ganglia are referred to as the reptilian, or the primal brain. This is one of the three brain bits in a mammal, and is supposed to cover your base survival instincts. That's all according to Wikipedia. I'm not like a brain knower or something. The limbic system is in there too, also voiced by Mikey, and also talking up this whole dying thing, making it sound proper fancy. The limbic system's another brain third, and it's mostly supposed to be like dispensing dopamine and making sure you're properly motivated to do stuff. There's 2/3 of your brain, and neither of them appear to be working. All that's left is the conscious bit. That's you, and me, and your extremely fragile detective at the start of Disco Elysium, floating in the void, having parted to within an inch of oblivion. The start of Disco Elysium is excellent, and it's also extremely perilous. Interacting with the tie on the ceiling fan, or making the obvious unforced error of turning on the lights after waking up with the mother of all hangovers, can easily kill the player moments into the game. The current speedrun for the game, from start to game over, is 10.5 seconds, not counting load times. The cause of death was tie. My first time playing Disco Elysium, I did manage to make it out of the whirling intact, but died shortly afterwards messing with the bins. So that's all very silly. But why are there so many guys in our guy? In Disco Elysium, you pick a bunch of stats at the beginning, and each stat has 6 associated skills, and each skill is constantly making invisible little die rolls behind the scenes to see if they'll chime in or not on any given situation. They all have their own unique personalities and perspectives. The ones you have more points in pass more often, and as such, are louder. That's a total of 24 different interior guys, but we haven't added the 2 we were already talking about, reptile brain and limbic system. They show up regardless of stats, almost exclusively speaking to you in moments of weakened consciousness. Your tie can talk too sometimes.
Is that not a mirror? What is that? Is that a door? That's a door. Okay, what's this? What is it? Explain yourself.
These do feel different from the other ones. Reptile brain and limbic system seem to remember stuff that you currently do not, for example. And all the other ones are voiced by the narrator, except for the tie.
That seems like an unfortunate
Regardless,
thing to
the detective seems to be a man who's somehow broken himself into like 27 unique pieces that are all competing for his attention at all times. And I want to say it's impossible for us to tell exactly what's going on with this poor guy. We'll learn way later on that he had a weird habit of naming his different types of thoughts, But at times he does exhibit what appears to be genuine precognition, and at any given point it's very hard to tell what's damage, what's eccentricity, what's deep-seated inner consciousness hidden, save for the brief moments before and after sleep, and what's actual magic. A lot of people like the idea that ancient reptilian brain is the detective's true voice, if you could ever hear him speaking. The detective being the one non-voice character in the game's current version. I don't feel like that's the case, though. Like, he's way too cool and confident for a weird little meat man. It is notable that reptile brain, limbic system, and also spinal cord, if you meet him later, are all voiced by Mikey W. Goodman. A lot of other characters are, to be fair, but every facet of his deep brain has the same VA. I'm pretty sure that if the detective was voiced, he would be another Mikey. The best fan theory I've heard is that the voice of ancient reptilian brain is in-universe the voice of Guillaume Lemillon, the deceased disco star our detective was obsessed with prior to the events of the game. Or, possibly, the detective doing an impression of Guillaume, affecting his voice the same way he's been affecting his expression, which we already know he's done so thoroughly and for so long that his face has gotten stuck like that. Ancient reptile brain appears in a dream as the voice of the hanged man. Obviously, we can see that the hanged man is a representation of our detective and where he's headed. But the image does parallel Guillaume's untimely autoerotic asphyxiation. Also, passing your karaoke check will have the detective sing with the voice of ancient reptilian brain. Failing your karaoke check will have you sing as the limbic system, by the way, and is much funnier. Kim still likes it. This has possibly been the most words ever of all time used in place of the simple phrase, I really know what's going on there. It's true, though. I don't.
Okay, try to stop. No,
I like
keep
it.
making the face.
Yes, the amulet of Zor.
Brilliant, the amulet.
Oh god, not now. Sorry everyone, I'm having some technical difficulties. Is it gone now? Is the horrible thing gone now? Can you still... Hang on, let me try this one.
Access. Activate. Stand by.
Level 7.
Access. Activate.
I've never heard of level 7.
Access. Activate. Stand by.
Wake up, Mr. Tipper. It seems you're my guest once again.
I don't think much of the hospitality.
You never take your death seriously enough.
Atom Smasher is the 7th level of Time Splitters 2. An all-time favourite game of mine, and it's probably the best level of the story campaign. Not the best theme music though, and that's Wild West. You are OG disco cop turned secret agent, Harry Tipper, and in a 4-bond underground lair type scenario, you've been strapped to a big weird table by the evil Dr. Callas, where you'll spend the next couple of minutes exchanging just the cheesiest lines of dialogue back and forth. Has anyone ever told you you have a screw loose? Luckily, this situation resolves itself very quickly, and we can get right into it.
Hey, can we talk about this?
Unluckily, Harry showed up without a gun today, and that could be a problem. If a player 2 is present, they'll be with Harry in the laser room as Harry's girlfriend, Kitten Celeste, a hippie lady with big hoop earrings, and no gun. Time Splitters is a series of time period hopping chicanery with extremely limited plot, but in case you're wondering, this level takes place further into the timeline than either of his other levels in Splitters 1 and 3. Harry's also one of only a handful of characters to show up in every game of the trilogy, the others being Captain Ash, Chinese Chef, Gingerbread Man, Duckman Drake, Chastity Detroit, Badass Cyborg, and of course, the Robofish. Of those, only him and Captain Ash are main characters in all 3 games. There's your useless Time Splitters information for the day. Actually, never mind, you've been good. Here's another, as a treat. Let's get back to the situation at hand. We're Harry Tipper. We're in a base patrolled by a veritable legion of jumpsuit-wearing goons, and, to top it all off, we're on a pretty strict-looking timer. There are a series of 5 bombs scattered throughout the lair, and we have only about 2 minutes to disarm one of them before we violently game over. Lots of people hate timers in games over much, I think, But we got ample time to deal with this, as long as we don't mess around. Clearing out all the goons around a scientist will have them declare, "I'll take care of that bomb for you," and do a quick disarm. Shooting any of them will put you in a horrible fail state where a message will flash on the screen telling you to load the most recent checkpoint because you beansed it. I wonder if they couldn't work out how to make it game over you automatically. Regardless, the level is uncompletable in this state. I want to point out that these little minion lads, literally named Henchman for the banana yellow guy and Dark Henchman for the black, are just really fun, wacky little designs. I love the goggles, and the whole aesthetic just really makes me think, yeah, I get it. It's time to go kill James Bond. In law, the Dark Henchmen hold no special rank over the regular ones. They just got to pick their outfit first and chose not yellow. They're not like bigger henchmen. Henchman. The worst and weirdest parts of the level are the ones where you have to drop everything and put out fires with a fire extinguisher. You have to do this or the doors won't open. Honestly, the inclusion of the fire extinguisher as a weapon in Time Splitters 2 is actually bizarre. And it is a weapon according to the multiplayer weapon setup menu. The fire extinguisher is a weapon that does no damage. Using it on a fire will put the fire out. Using it on a person who's on fire will put them out. You can get yourself two, kind of, if you shoot the floor while walking forwards. Takes a little hope. This is how you're supposed to be able to do Sergio's Last Stand, by the way, if you've been wondering for like 20 years. The extinguishers are on the backs of the posts. AI bots will pick up a fire extinguisher if there's nothing else around, and they'll try and use it against you as a weapon over their fists, even though the latter actually does have an effect on hit. It's also the only weapon in the game that has the fire removal property, though a good few things apply fire. It's just weird to me that it was someone's job, and not necessarily an easy job, to code a weapon nobody would ever want to use that doesn't do any damage into a fast-paced first-person shooter game that already had about 40 weapons in it. Games were different then, man. There was a time in games, now long gone, where there was no exact science on like how to actually make a game, and everyone was just trying weird shit all the time, and just because it didn't work at all didn't mean it wouldn't make it into the finished product. I genuinely miss those days.
I'm ready. Oh boy. Hi. Friend. Reload is A. Gotcha.
In a wild departure from the three games that came before, Resident Evil 4 is an educational game for children, in which you must help Special Agent Leon S. Kennedy fight off a horde of parasite-infused peasant farmers, a task that can only be accomplished through the medium of a neatly and properly prepared suitcase. Now, we're specifically talking about OG Resi 4 here. The remake automates a lot of the packing and does it terribly, wiggling all your carefully cultivated stuff around for no reason, just to put the health with the ammo and all the little bags of screws on their side. You can't do that, Leon, they'll spill. In RE4 OG, your suitcase is a temple. If left to its own devices, it's going to be a whole entire mess, with all the grenades and health and bullets mixed gleefully together between horrible little gaps that'll slowly erode Leon's ability to carry stuff over time. When properly nurtured, the attaché case is like a well-tended garden, with a place for everything, and everything in its place. Something you can just look at and say to yourself, yeah, everything's right with the world. I'm ready to go shoot a big bug. So I really like the attaché case. If we're doing limited inventory, I like a system where an egg takes up an egg-sized amount of space and a gun is as large as exactly one gun. It's a lot of added granularity over previous titles and most other games in general, without going full-on Bethesda style, here is your list of trash, some of this trash is too heavy. If Leon can't pick something up, I can see exactly why, and if he can pick a thing up, it's because I packed his little backpack neatly before I sent him off to school today. And that's cool too. I like the route planning aspect of repeat Resi 4 playthroughs also, and the attaché case plays a part in that. Definitely less so than the money does, as a fully upgraded case can probably hold whatever you need it to, unless you're running around with just every gun. But there's a balancing act to be made between the big old guns on the left side and the open space on the right that represents your capacity for ammo, herbs, grenades, and chicken eggs. And if you don't put all the guns neatly along the left side, you're weird. I also like that different people have different suitcase packing conventions. It's wildly endearing to me, for some reason, to see the little nugget of individuality emerge from something as simple as managing your inventory. First-time players will either totally ignore it until the cat picks something up and then get mad, or be full anal about arranging all items with their like. No in-betweens. Moving on from there, some people, horrible people, never really bother with anything other than making sure all the slots are filled. And others develop weird little conventions. A streamer I watch rotates all the guns upside down, because in the PC version, there's a little Leon at the right side of the screen, and having the guns pointed at him would be unsafe. That kind of thing. Now, if we're being fully objective, way too much of RE4 takes place in the attaché case. You have to go there to fiddle all your slots around all the dang time. About 1 in every 3 guys has some sort of item for you that's going to take up slots, and quite possibly a moment of your time. You also have to go there every time you want to switch weapon or throw a grenade, which is quite egregious, and surely even at the time we could have had an option to just hotkey some of the items there for quick swapping in the field. And objectively, RE4OG would be a better game if I could pull out my shotgun without having to stop time and look at the whole broader inventory. Taking a moment to try and resist the urge to sort all the trash I've been given just this combat until everyone's dead. It's nice to have a little zen hand grenade garden to arrange in between tense moments, but I think it hurts pacing a lot more often than it helps. That's all being objective, though. If we're being subjective, I genuinely love this weird system. And to be fair, this weird game. I think if I could change one thing about RE4, I just wouldn't. They did it too good, and I'd worry that even one little convenience change would somehow knock down the whole house of cards that makes RE4 a masterpiece. Like the Fonz doing his hair. There's no need to touch it. It's already perfect. Every game should have an attaché case.
I'm running out of ammo.
Just a dream.
Again? This shit's broken, man.
Over. Now cough up the amulet.
Fuck's sake. Is anyone else having this problem?
Haven't you crippled me enough already?
That was an accident in another dimension a long time ago.
I'm using DaVinci Resolve for editing, but it keeps splicing the footage with early 2000s British kids shows with really bad CGI. And this is somehow happening in real time also. I can't be sitting here putting a show together while the butt-ugly Martians jump in on every second word. It's ridiculous. Let's talk about Adam the fucking clown. The scoop, out of control, first pops up at 9 PM on the first day, and seems no more or less ominous than any other. The funny little roller coaster in the kids section of the mall has gone weird, and always sends you out to see if anyone's messing with it. Someone is in fact messing with it. Adam McIntyre was a children's entertainer all the way up until zombies overran the mall. When the zombies ate the children he was trying to entertain, he kinda lost it, just a little, I think. He turned on the machine because it was drawing the zombies away, and he's not too happy when Frank shows up to turn it off again. He appears in full clown garb, wearing a silly little hat and dual-wielding miniature chainsaws. The boss fight begins immediately after the cutscene ends. Dead Rising 1 is an excellent game, and it's excellent despite almost every aspect of its mechanics and gameplay loop being completely broken. In fact, the horrible jankiness adds to the charm and in places creates genuinely brilliant emergent gameplay moments, like showing up to switch off a loud thing and being attacked by a chainsaw clown. I think in, like, a real game, you'd know in advance if you were going to go press a button and maybe escort someone back to the shelter, or if you were walking into an optional boss battle with endgame damage output at, like, level 10. when you last saved an hour ago. I'm serious about this being a good game, by the way. The first few story missions kinda drag. Then there's a big gap in the main quest when you set loose to rescue survivors or just explore them all. Do whatever you feel like to pass the time, honestly, the game won't judge. Then there's the clown. It's perfectly normal to have already picked up a couple of survivors on your current run before stopping off at the Wonderland Plaza Space Rider, at which point seeing them slaughtered in one hit is probably going to tell you all you need to know about the current situation. The boss fight isn't actually all that hard, though it is much more so than any you've had up to this point, and probably more difficult than you will have until late in the game. First time here, you're probably going to explode, but that's fine. These things happen, and this is how we learn.
Oh shit, I'm dead.
Adam hits like a truck, and his block will smash whatever melee weapon you try and hit him with. But his attacks are slow and rigid, and he's weak enough against ranged attacks that if you rock up with like 2 pistols and you know what you're doing, you're probably fine. Don't want to get hit though. Certainly not with the chainsaws. The fight will almost certainly descend to the floor of the Wonderland Plaza, where the zombies are being lured by the coaster, at which point the mass of the living dead will be an unfortunate complication for the events at hand. Occasionally, one of them will take a swipe at Adam, but mostly they're just going to be after Frank. Most likely cause of death here is being grabbed by a zombie and then blended by Adam in a 1-2 punch that can take off like 6+ blocks of health, which is probably about what you have at maximum this early in the game. The dead, tragically, have no craving for the flesh of clowns. It tastes funny. I think the intention was that you'd run back on New Game Plus and give him a piece of your mind, keeping Frank's extended moveset and health pool, as well as a run's worth of accumulated player knowledge on where to find all the best stuff to hit him with. The fight isn't really what matters though, as much as the surprise. We remember Adam because we woke up that day not knowing he existed, and entered the room not knowing he was possible. I like when a game isn't afraid to surprise me in a way that'll probably result in my immediate turbo murder. Expect the unexpected, says Adam the Clown, wisest of all clowns. Expect the unexpected, and remember to save your game.
Oh, my home, okay. Oh man, these guys are tough.
Now you've done it, you freak shit. You fucked up. You're being tracked by the grid. The eye in the sky is watching. We're coming for you. Prepare to die. Your objectives are to kill your landlord and subsequently escape. A lot has happened already before you're actually in control of any character. Now, if we're talking games that are full of surprises, or even just games that have mall levels, Cruelty Squad is one of them. You've actually just beaten the mall level when you get to Apartment Atrocity, and you probably think you're starting to get a handle on things when suddenly the weird briefing man turns on you. Opening the level, you're hit with the musical equivalent of a steel chair, and not a whole lot of time before the cops kick in the door. The enemies on this level being themselves Cruelty Squad agents who have a ton of health and an automatic shotgun. Probably going to want to stay away from the windows too, unless you just wanted to gaze longingly at the big floating exit sign just over yonder behind the battalion of shotgun cops and minigun robots.
This is a good rifle, I like it.
Like all missions in Cruelty Squad, Apartment Atrocity hides an intricate sequence of paths and passages should tackling the enemy head-on and exploding repeatedly grow tiresome. Like all missions, you're not really sure how helpful exactly any of them are going to be before you've thrown yourself into them. Some paths make the journey to kill your landlord and run much easier, while others lead to abject madness. Large sections of the map are just repeating door textures with occasional actual doors hidden within for flavour. And there's a long drop into a mystery flesh pit halfway down one of the halls. Breaking through the floor of your shower will drop you into another apartment with an anti-material rifle on the living room table and a somewhat unhinged neighbour. Senior citizens dropping dead from brain-frying giga-orgasms. It's all because of the leftists, honestly. Nice fella. Remember to go back up and kill your landlord once the two of you are done chatting. If Cruelty Squad looks or sounds like something you might enjoy, you should seek help. If it doesn't look like something you'd enjoy though, you might still like it. Cruelty Squad is a whole entire event. It's a fast-paced, blood-soaked charge through hyper-capitalist meat hell. It's also a game that looks like someone tried to port a bad acid trip they'd had onto the PlayStation 1. It's a game where the fall damage is way, way too high and half the enemies are bullshit, and it's a game that'll still surprise you after playing for 20 hours. Cruelty Squad is a sadistic game born almost entirely out of spite. Okay, that last one was actually a quote from the guy who made it. I streamed some of Cruelty Squad a while back, but the sounds in it were causing physical harm to one of my Twitch followers, and I only have like 3, so I had to stop. We'll talk more about Cruelty Squad, but we haven't gotten to C yet. Oh, and if you're playing on Hope Eradicated mode, you'll have an extra objective here. Be sure to head to the roof and battle the pizza golem before you leave.
But we might as well just go ahead and go here because that's where I practiced at before I did this video. And here's the anime channel. When sushi goes bad, we have 3 new remotes to grab. That, besides the fly token remote, demolish the 3 protoculture tubes, deactivate the plant destroyer, and find and destroy the 5 rogue mechs. This is the one that I got first. And you can see, this is the one that I found. And here we look pretty much like we have like some sort of Gundam or fighter suit.
The anime channel. Subtitle: When Sushi Goes Bad. This is the 9th stage you'll likely come across in Gex 3, Deep Cover Gecko, wherein titular horrible lizard Gex will be pitted against 3 gauntlets of robots, bombs, and flamethrower turrets to demolish the 3 protoculture tubes, deactivate the planet destroyer, and find and destroy the 5 rogue mechs. A 4th remote is available, as is customary, for collecting all 100 fly coins, but since each objective in this one is down its own distinct path, that's a lot of running around to do. Despite the weapons arrayed against Gex, this is actually one of the easier levels, in my opinion. There aren't really combat mechanics in Gex, you just kind of mash the spin button until the enemy go away, and sometimes he says, "It's tail time." Horrible. The rest is just moving in a straight line, with maybe slight wiggles until you reach your objective. And you can even glide in this level with your weird little backpack. Gex 2 seems to enjoy this level, as it's all so shiny and clean. Now, when I play Gex, I play the European version with Danny John Jules Gex. This is predominantly because I think Dana Gould is the devil, and his voice is just nails on a chalkboard to me. I know Gex isn't supposed to be funny. Gex is about suffering, after all. But this is too much for me. In this stage, though, every now and then, Danny will just say, "Or is it my underpants?" out of nowhere, and in response to nothing. According to the internet, the full quote is supposed to be, "I sense a disturbance in the force." Or is it my underpants? Which is also terrible. But in my experience playing the game on console for years, and then on emulator for years, and then on stream a billion times, he almost never says the whole thing. I have a complicated relationship with Gex. I really did play this game as a baby, I couldn't be stopped. Even if I didn't ever know what the little green man was talking about, or get any of his jokes. As an adult, I fully appreciate that Gex is a bad, disgusting little man, but hot take incoming. As far as games holding up and continuing to be playable into the future, despite modern conveniences like standardized controls and analog sticks and a camera that doesn't get stuck in every single wall, I'd put Gex above Crash Bandicoot any day. I'm fully aware that Gex is a horrible meme lizard, a Bubsy tier video game protagonist, but I was already on the Gex train and the meme just kinda happened around me. Is the game good? It's not my place to say. I'm Gex poisoned. Or is it my underpants?